Video 21, Part 21A of 25, Importance of the Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis Process. The purpose of this video is to present the importance of the Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process and the problems that arise when it is conducted improperly. The Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process is the third process within the Project Risk Management knowledge area and is related to the Planning Process Group. Like, subscribe to my channel, and share with others. Thank you. How important is the Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process in the PMBOK Planning Process Group? Before we begin our study, it is important to understand the distinction between qualitative and quantitative risk analysis. Each has a distinct purpose in risk management and is typically applied sequentially to support informed decision-making. 1. Qualitative risk analysis. This is a relative, priority-based assessment of identified risks. The objective is to prioritize risks, separating minor issues from major threats or opportunities. And the main question to be answered is, which risks should we focus on? The methodology applied consists of using expert judgment, workshops, and a probability and impact matrix. The impact matrix is a grid with color-coded classification, such as high, medium, low or scales of 1 to 5. The output is a prioritized risk register with severity classifications for each risk. As example, imagine a situation where a team classifies the risk, failure to hire qualified human resources for the development, as high probability and high impact, making it a maximum priority, red, risk requiring immediate action. 2. Quantitative risk analysis. This is a numerical, data-driven assessment of the highest priority risks. The objective is to understand the combined effect of risks on overall project objectives and determine realistic contingency reserves. The main question to be answered is, what is the specific potential impact on cost and schedule? And what are the probabilities? The methodology applied employs techniques such as Monte Carlo simulation, which models thousands of possible outcomes, decision tree analysis, and expected monetary value calculations. The result is probabilistic forecasts for project outcomes. For example, imagine a situation where a simulation shows there is an 85% chance the project will be completed by July 1st, within a budget of $500,000, and a 15% chance it will cost $550,000. It could also reveal that, although the most likely completion date is June 15th, there is a 10% probability of delay until August 1st. We can use an analogy to explain the differences between the two analyses. Qualitative analysis resembles triage in an emergency room. Nurses quickly assess patients, identifying risks and classifying them as critical, urgent, or stable. It is a rapid process that prioritizes attention. Quantitative analysis, in turn, resembles a detailed diagnosis and prognosis. Doctors perform specific tests or analyze concrete data from the critically ill patient to understand the exact condition, the necessary treatment, and the estimated recovery time. It is a precise process that requires a large amount of data. In practice, these analyses are performed sequentially. Qualitative analysis identifies and prioritizes all risks. Quantitative analysis is then applied to the most critical ones to obtain detailed numerical insights. Returning to the initial question, how important is the Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process in the PMBOK Planning Process Group? We have the following points. The Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process is critically important and arguably one of the most practical and frequently used risk management processes within the PMBOK Guides Planning Process Group. Here's a breakdown of its importance, structured by its key contributions. 1. Core purpose. Prioritization for efficient action. The primary value of qualitative risk analysis is that it transforms a long list of identified risks into a prioritized shortlist. Without it, a project manager would be overwhelmed trying to address every risk equally. Qualitative risk analysis uses probability and impact assessments to calculate a risk score. It is done often on a simple scale like 1 to 5 or low, medium, high. The result is risk classification. This allows the team and stakeholders to focus time, resources, and contingency planning on the high-priority risks, typically those with high probability, high impact, rather than wasting effort on trivial ones. 2. Enables data-driven decision-making and planning. This process provides the foundational data for several other planning processes, such as, first, perform quantitative risk analysis. It feeds the shortlist of high-priority risks into quantitative analysis, which uses numerical models. You often cannot run complex Monte Carlo simulations on every risk. Second, plan risk responses. This is the direct successor. You cannot plan effective responses, like mitigate, avoid, transfer, or accept, without knowing which risks are worth the cost of the response. The priority list tells you exactly where to invest. Third, other baselines. Insights from risk priority can influence the schedule, cost, and resource plans. For example, a high probability risk of a key vendor delay might lead you to build in more lag time or identify a backup supplier. 3. Engages the team and builds shared understanding. The process is inherently collaborative. By involving team members, subject matter experts, and stakeholders in assessment workshops, collective experience and intuition are leveraged. This also creates a common language and perspective on what constitutes project risk. And ultimately, it fosters commitment and shared responsibility for risks and subsequent response plans. 4. Identifies watchlist risks. Not all risks are urgent. Qualitative analysis helps identify low-priority risks that should be placed on a watch list for periodic monitoring. This is a crucial aspect of proactive management. You don't ignore them, but you don't actively spend resources on them unless their priority changes. 5. Timely and cost-effective. Compared to quantitative analysis, qualitative analysis is, first, faster. Can be done relatively quickly, even in workshops. Second, less data-intensive. It doesn't require complex historical data or sophisticated software. It can be done with a spreadsheet or even sticky notes on a risk matrix. Third, accessible, understandable to all stakeholders, not just risk specialists. 6. Directly addresses key project constraints. By focusing on risks that could impact scope, schedule, cost, and quality most severely, the process directly supports the core objectives of project planning to create a realistic and achievable plan. 7. Where it fits in the planning process group. First, identify risks. You brainstorm and list all potential risks in a risk register. Second, perform qualitative risk analysis. You prioritize that list. This is the critical filter. Third, optionally, perform quantitative risk analysis. Applying numerical models to the main risks to gain a deeper understanding is optional. Fourth, plan risk responses. You develop actions for the prioritized risks. Fifth, update project documents. The risk register is updated with priority scores, rankings, and watch list status. What are the problems if the Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process is not performed in the PMBOK planning process group as required? According to the PMBOK guide, Skipping the Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process during planning is a significant project management failure that leads to a cascade of problems. Here's a breakdown of the core issues, structured by their impact. 1. Strategic and prioritization problems. First, the main problem is the absence of risk prioritization. The project team is left with a raw, unprocessed list of identified risks, which is the risk register. Without qualitative analysis, there is no way to distinguish a critical, high-impact risk from a trivial one. This leads to wasted effort and misaligned focus. Second, another problem is the inefficient use of limited resources. Project resources, such as time, money, and personnel, are always finite. Without prioritization, you cannot apply these resources effectively to the most important threats and opportunities. You might spend $50,000 mitigating a low-priority risk while a high-priority one goes unaddressed. 2. Planning and decision-making deficiencies. First, you may encounter an inadequate foundation for quantitative analysis. Qualitative analysis is the essential input for the subsequent Perform Quantitative Risk Analysis process, should it be undertaken. Without it, quantitative analysis attempts to model everything, wasting time on insignificant risks or, more commonly, been completely ignored, leaving the project without a numerical understanding of risk exposure. Second, you may encounter a poorly designed contingency plan. Contingency reserves, such as time and cost, are typically calculated based on the assessment of high-probability, high-impact risks. Ignoring qualitative analysis means that reserves are defined arbitrarily or based solely on intuition, which often leads to insufficient reserves, project overruns, or excessive and unjustifiable reserves, resulting in inefficient use of resources. Third, you may encounter a flawed risk response plan. You cannot develop effective risk responses if you don't know which risks are truly important. The plan risk responses process becomes a guessing game, potentially creating elaborate strategies for minor issues while leaving major ones with weak or no responses. 3. Communication and stakeholder engagement failures. First, you may encounter an ineffective communication with stakeholders. Senior management and key stakeholders need a clear, prioritized view of what could derail the project. A generic list is useless to them. Qualitative analysis provides the risk probability and impact matrix, a vital communication tool for gaining support for risk strategies and securing resources. Second, you may encounter a lack of shared understanding. The process forces the team to agree on probability and impact scales. Ignoring it means the team lacks a common framework for discussing risks, leading to conflicting views and misaligned efforts. 4. Operational and project execution risks. First, you may encounter a reactive firefighting mode. The project transitions from proactive risk management to reactive problem management. Instead of preparing for predictable, high-priority risks, the team is constantly surprised and races against to solve problems as they escalate into crises, which is far more costly and disruptive. Second, you may encounter a higher probability of project failure. High-priority threats that could have been mitigated or avoided materialize unexpectedly, potentially causing catastrophic schedule delays, cost overruns, scope cuts, or quality failures. Third, you may encounter missed opportunities. Qualitative analysis is not limited to threats. It also identifies opportunities or positive risks. Without it, high-priority opportunities to save time, reduce cost, or add value may be overlooked and unexploited. In conclusion, qualitative risk analysis is the indispensable sorting hat of project risk management. It is the bridge between simply knowing what could go wrong and intelligently deciding what you should do about it. Without it, risk management becomes either an unfocused academic exercise or a chaotic firefighting mission. Its role in the planning process group is to bring clarity, focus, and actionable intelligence to the project team, ensuring that risk planning is efficient, collaborative, and directly tied to project success. The Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process is the critical filter that transforms a simple list of risks into a managed portfolio of threats and opportunities. Skipping it during planning undermines the entire risk management knowledge area, guarantees inefficient resource allocation, severely impairs communication, and dramatically increases the project's vulnerability to failure. It is a non-negotiable step for professional, proactive project management. Finishing this video, we will have in the next videos. 1. Creation of WBS for different projects using WBS Schedule Pro. 2. Examples of project plans using MS Project. And many more videos. Don't forget to give a thumbs up if you liked this video and want us to continue with new topics. Subscribe to the channel. All content is free. You can also comment suggesting topics you would like to see on this channel. Thank you.